Good morning, Harry. It's mid-afternoon here in Berlin. The sun is actually shining, which is pretty unique for this time of year. The weather here is pretty miserable for half the year, and that half has begun. Went out last night and had a couple of beers, feeling mildly hungover. So maybe I'll be rambling today. Nothing too crazy. I think I would say it is a 4 out of 10 on the hangover scale. Got plenty of water and some paracetamol, so let's cross our fingers and hope it goes well. Anyway, let's just jump into this. Fernando Lupente. I screw up your name pretty much every month when we do this. You don't know English. Okay. You need to enable downloads so that I can download the track and bring it into Ableton. On SoundCloud, you haven't set it to so that I can download it. Okay. Let's get going. You guys can hear that? All right, so as I said, we're going to have to kind of not listen to the whole track and try and move things along as quickly as possible. I really like the vibe of this. The kick is a bit odd. It's like got a really sharp transient, but not a lot of sub. But it's quite long. You can kind of hear it before the bass comes in. It's like very subby, but the sub is not loud. I don't know. I'm quite particular about kicks. You can really see it in the transient here. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's a 909 or an 808 or something. But it's like super, super long. I would really try and make that kick at half as long. And I'd probably just find a different kick, to be honest. I think if you find a nice, warm, round kind of kick, the track will just kind of feel a lot better. So that long kick is interfering with the bass a bit. The bass, I would say it's, especially at the start when it comes in, I would say it's got a bit much mid-range going on. I would just pull the cutoff back, and then yeah, I would pull the cutoff back, and you could open it up a bit later in the track, and that'll kind of also help it to have some movement in the bass, because the bass comes in very early and just stays static pretty much the whole time. Now, as I said at the start, the vibe is really cool. I like it. There's a couple of things as it progresses, like you start adding some kind of glitchy things. It sounds like from Tantra or something, and they're cool. They're adding good vibe and atmosphere, but there's a bunch of different things going on, and they're kind of clashing a bit, like rhythmically. Like when you're adding those glitchy bits, I think it's really important to try and not just have them there for the sake of having them there, but you want to make them work with your track. Like, so kind of side chaining them, or you could bounce them to audio and use the volume envelope, the gain envelope. Like, you have to have it warped to show the envelopes. You know, so you go like this to edit it. So then you can kind of put bits of these glitches in where they fit, where they work, and it kind of just makes everything a bit cleaner. Because yeah, there's quite a few things happening on top of each other. I really like this, like a little spin back or something before the drop. Super cool vibe, and that sound there on the drop. Really nice, yeah, really nice vibe, and quite unique sounds, so it's cool. Like I said, the bass, it just feels a bit static, like it's just kind of plodding along. Maybe having a bit of movement in the notes, and yeah, pull back that cutoff to make it a bit more subby. I think yeah, the vibe's cool. So let's roll. So here we've got D05, Dilby Feedback. Love the name. Guys, this month was actually pretty good, but still a few people having issues naming their tracks. Like, you know, I'm complaining a little bit because it gives me things that I have to do. But it's just like a really important habit to get into, to name your tracks with your name and the track name in it, so that when you're sending them out demos to labels and stuff, when they find that on their hard drive and go like, this is a bomb, I want to sign this, but I can't remember who I got it from. If it's called some like random shit, Tech House October 2020 big one version 6.5, then they're not going to be able to sign that, you know. They're not going to know who to contact. So that's going to slip through the cracks. So just as like a habit to kind of instill in yourself, give your tracks, put your name in them, and give them a name. Anyway, let's roll. So this is a bit chaotic. So I just checked the email to find out what the if there was any extra information, and he's called it a melodic prog record. So the drums and stuff have a much more kind of rave techno. They sound a little bit outdated, so I would suggest that the drums don't have to be more crazy, but if you could get the drums in like a style similar to like Art Bat or something. Art Bat have pretty simple drums, but they sound good. They sound a bit more modern. So I think that would freshen up the vibe of the track from the start. This first break where you introduce the melodic stuff is really cool. Some of the sounds you've got in there, everything's like at that point of the track works really nicely. That sub bass is like super cool, and then that kind of all these higher sounds are just amazing. Like so then when it drops back in, it's really good. But I think if you had like some kind of tom groove, because of the bass, you've got this like long bass, but there's nothing to groove to. So it sounds really cool. But I think if you had just like a simple tom kind of groove bass line happening underneath, that would work really well. Just tune that to the key of the track, and that'll give people something to kind of dance to as well. Now, so here, I think it just starts to fall down a bit. Like, if you can make that, like, that's your track, man. That you just need to work those elements, and then it's going to be a fucking sick track. Add in like a tom bass and some kind of slightly more refined modern sounding drums. But then it starts to get confusing when you're adding in this other melody here. It's a bit it sounds a bit more like big room progressive house, and maybe that's what you mean by progressive, but it sounds like kind of big room to me. So you said melodic prog, so I'm assuming that means kind of progressive melodic techno kind of thing. Then the same problem persists and kind of gets a bit more problematic in the break. Like, you've got this really, really long epic break, and it's kind of like building up, a new element comes in, but it doesn't quite create enough tension, and then you kind of build up, and then you build back down, and then there's just not really, for the listener, it's not really kind of creating tension and then clearly guiding them with like building excitement to a payoff, to the drop. I think, again, you're trying to introduce new themes, new melodies, and they're not really. I think you're overcomplicating it, and it could be really cool if it was. Oops. If it was this. But then it's. This melody here could work, but so yeah, I mean, you could use that melody, maybe use it in the break to build up, but all this kind of like, This like it's a really big room kind of sound or pattern for the snare rise. Just reference some other tracks. Maybe you're trying to go for a big room progressive house, and I'm totally off in what I'm trying to point to, the direction I'm trying to point you. All right, let's move on. Luca Pensa, Every Day, T5. I'm assuming this is just kind of a sketch, because it's, I mean, yeah, 3 minutes for this style of track would be a bit off. Right, a really cool vibe, man. I love the vocals, really nice. It's got a real kind of soulful early 2000s, like, yeah, more like early 2000s kind of vibe. Almost like an early Defected kind of sound. Yeah, really nice. I think this kind of vocal chop, it's a really cool idea to introduce the vocal. I think it could be done a bit more just with a bit more groove, and it kind of stays, although it's kind of like moving and you've got these chops going on, there's not a lot moving within that. So try to kind of like introduce it with maybe with some filter automation, or have it kind of changing a bit. I really like this when the vocal comes in, really cool. And I like the way that you're using the automation on the synths and the bass to help build tension. It just feels a lot more kind of polished when you can do that, rather than putting in too many white noise sweeps and rises and stuff. Really clean drop. This lead that you've got, I'm not a huge fan of it. I feel like it's fighting for dominance with the vocal. I would like just subdue it a little bit, and then kind of open the filter cutoff. Yeah, like you use the filter cutoff to kind of subdue it a bit, have it a bit more in the back of the mix, and then you can automate the filter cutoff to like open it up at points to accentuate things. Then after this drop, you bring in like another lead, which is also quite fast paced, and I feel like those two leads are fighting for each other. So then you've got kind of three things fighting for attention, which is the vocal, the and the two lead sounds. point where you actually did filter out the lead a little bit. But I think, yeah, it's just not doing it for me. It's kind of not interesting enough to be as prominent in the track as you've got it, because it's quite samey. It just kind of sits there. I think the vocal is the selling point and the groove, so focus on that. Let those other elements kind of play some more of a supporting role. The break's really cool. It's got a really nice vibe. I like it when you bring in the pads. The piano is really nice. I think you've done really well in the breaks, and the vibe of the track is really cool. It's pretty much just those leads that I'm not a huge fan of, and I think they're kind of unnecessary. All right, let's move on. Really like that vocal in the background. It's like adding real depth to the mix, because it's there, you can hear it, but it's like it's quiet and it's got some reverb and delay and stuff on it, so it feels like it's in the background, which helps to make the mix sound a bit more 3D. So far, really loving the vibe of this. It feels like it should have the bass line, like you should have dropped the bass line in there, because you've added quite a bit of intensity with all the extra hats and stuff, and then there's kind of like not any energy change in the low end. Yeah. Fucking good. That sounds so good. I like this when you drop out some of the elements there. Really important thing that a lot of people forget to do, or maybe are not confident enough to do, but like taking out elements is just as powerful as adding new elements. I would add in a held string here just to add a bit more tension, so when you take out those hats, it kind of has something to fill in that space, or kind of to replace it. You could even take out the open hat maybe, or at least try it, and then you've just got that kind of 16th shaker or tambourine or hi-hat or whatever playing. I think it's I think I would experiment with keeping a little bit more of the drums in there for the kind of time of the night when this track is going to be played. You know, it's kind of like it's a fucking amazing warm-up track, and I think you want to keep people grooving a little bit more. The break's not too long, you know, it's 30 seconds, but I would experiment with potentially keeping like a filtered kick in, or just a bit more of the drums, like having the drums there but filtered down or something like that, just to keep it rolling. Honestly, I could just listen to this all day. This is so good. I want to play this. Yeah, a couple of small points, but I think like in general the track is absolutely fire. So well done. Unfortunately, we've got to move on, but if we get enough time, I might come back and listen to that again. Nico Beats, Free Your Soul.
Free your
There's so much reverb on these drums. This could be what you're going for, but I'm not sure if you're trying to make this really kind of lo-fi house type thing, or if it's just a mistake. If you're trying to make like house, like clubby kind of housey stuff, I think the vibe of this is really sick. But yeah, the amount of reverb on those drums is pretty weird. I mean, it sounds cool, but it's going to sound really weird in a club. I think you might also have your kick panned I think the kick is panned slightly to the right, which is I would suggest having it in mono down the middle. And this bass is extremely loud. It kind of sounds cool, but in a club that's just gonna like just make the low end kind of unfeasible. It's just going to overpower everything. Also, like, so some of the sounds that you've got, like this kind of sampled bell type thing, it's really cool, but it's quite static. There's not a lot of movement going on in the mix in general.
The wind deeply. The wind deeply. The wind deeply.
Yeah, really cool vibe on this. I think that, yeah, you need some more tension in the break, and again, it's that kind of similar thing as I was saying in the last track, like, except in this case it's a much longer break, and there's not really anything to dance to. But like I said, I'm not sure if what the intention of the track is. Yannick, hello from Mumbai. Hello, Yannick in Mumbai. Yeah, so I think the vibe was really cool. I really like the vocals. This kind of creepy, glitchy spoken word thing is cool as well. I'm just I'm a bit confused about what the intention of the track is. All right, so we've had some requests. We do not take requests, but this was the request. So let's have a listen.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you. Last night was a good one for me. I really needed to hear some of that motivational shit. Like, I really needed that. And I knew it was a good one for me.
All right, I mean, this is really, really well made. Amazing atmosphere. Very kind of very kind of attention grabbing. Yeah, I was really engrossed in listening to it. It actually lost me a bit as this. I'm not sure if it's an M1, but as this kind of more housey piano came in. It felt everything with this kind of like real piano going. It sounded a lot more kind of polished and musical, and then this kind of feels a bit like what's the word for it? Like, I don't know. I feel like it was maybe unnecessary. I guess it adds some, like a change and a pickup in energy or something, but I'm just not too sure that it's, for my opinion anyway, doesn't add to the track. It kind of detracts. I really like the vibe of this kind of groove. Really like this part where you bring in the breakbeat sample.
I wanted to say,
and really, really great vocal and well produced as well.
it was a good one for me.
Yeah, that piano just feels a bit out of place to me, but that's my only kind of criticism. I think the track's amazing. Well done. Mahia27, you've been silenced. Please don't spam the chat like that, guys. It's yeah. If anything else, it's just bloody distracting while I'm trying to listen to the track and shit. DNA, hey Dilby, I'm quite new to your channel. Love the content. Do you have feedbacks every Sunday? No, I do not. I do it about once a month. I'll post at least ideally like a week or so before when I'm going to do it. I'll post on YouTube and in Patreon. Mr. Ego, I am still waiting for you to enable downloads so that I can put your track in the mix. Rajesh Deshpande, okay, I spoke with this dude on we had a call the other day and I forgot to ask him how to pronounce his name, so I'm really sorry, dude, that I'm still probably butchering your name. Yeah, it was great to talk to you. This is so fucking good, dude. I love it. I felt like it was, yeah, again, I just got like lost in it. The thing that snapped me out of it was when that vocal came in. I get why you've put it in there. I think that, fuck. I think that it just isn't unnecessary. It's a cool vocal, I think, but it's a bit static, and it just felt like it was detracting from the track a little bit. That's my opinion, but yeah, I don't think you need it. Let's see where it goes. Yeah, like this kind of more atmospheric vocal there. I think that, for me anyway, that's enough. Maybe you could have the other one come in here, which I assume it will. Man, this is so good. I wish I'd made this track. It's so good. I just really think that vocal's unnecessary, man. Which is like a good problem to have. I would try like muting it. It's cool vocal, so you could always, if you're really in love with the vocal, you could try like take it as the starting point for another track. But I just feel in this case it's not really necessary. I did like it when this kind of more textural, maybe it's the same thing with some reverb and stuff on it. That's super nice. That's super nice. But I think you've got enough going on that the vocal isn't really necessary. Yeah, so good, dude. I love it. What can I say? Like, there's not much feedback other than like, get this track to some labels and get it out there to the world. People deserve it. Okay, Xtel Engineer. Let's have a listen.
The person can concentrate intensely on a specific thought or memory.
A lot going on for the intro of a track. I'm not sure if there's like, it's quite short, so I'm not sure if this is like the full track, but I would kind of, none of that was bad, but just listening to it from a DJ perspective, it's just this, it's unnecessary. You could just extend the intro a bit and have this kind of stuff happen. It's not done badly. It works really well, but I just think it's not functional. By this point, I'm kind of wanting something a bit more in the low end to groove to. It's feels a bit empty, but let's see what happens after this little break.
Track
feel like that bit there is that sound that came in. It kind of sounds like a slot machine winning or something. It felt a bit out of place. Everything else is really like subtle and sounds really classy, and that just kind of stuck out a little bit for me. Yeah, I'm definitely wanting something to groove, a bit more energetic in the low end, but really cool sound design and stuff as well. This lead sound, it's cool, but it's pretty loud. That's really loud there. I would just tone it down a bit. Yeah, that lead is like, it's kind of overpowering everything. I would just turn it down a bit. That was a really cool, so this is something that, I mean, I do it, everyone does it, but this is like a really cool sound, but I think it's, unfortunately doesn't work there. It would be, I think it would, at that point where that bass sound, it's got a bit much in the mid-range. I think it would be better if you kind of filtered it a bit, because it's kind of the distorted low end thing that's kind of like bit crushed low end kind of thing, which would make it sound really cool in a club or something. But I think the kick should, I think it should drop back in at that point. You could try putting that in here where it kind of, you know, where you kind of settle it down a bit. Then have it like there or something. I think that would be cool. Yeah, really cool, man. Really cool vibe. Actually, I don't know if it's a man or a male or female, so really cool person. Joe Lana. Let's go, Joe. I mean, it's only 30 seconds into the track, but I kind of wanted a little bit more there. It was really, really nice groove and really cool little snare fill, but I kind of wanted something a little more to happen there. So by this point, I think there's too much going on. I think you've got these kind of like everything's cool, and the vocal sounds cool as well, but it's like, in terms of like what you're using in your track, just in general, I think a really good mindset to have is just like try to refine it, take out anything that's unnecessary, but also within the arrangement itself, like think about it like kind of movie scenes in a way, like who's the lead character in this scene? Because at the moment it's kind of like you've got a bunch of things happening, fighting for attention. So yeah, it just feels a bit too much. I think it would work a bit better if it was like each of these sections were refined a bit. Not to say that you need to take the elements out altogether, but just kind of have them being the focal point of one section, and then maybe switch it up to having the next element be the focal point of that section.
I'm going to do it and just mess around. And it can turn out good sometimes.
Also, in terms of the way the call and response is happening with your elements, it's really good. But the bass line is kind of dictating the groove of the track, and the rhythm of the call and response between the synths is kind of not working with the groove of the bass line. So I would try to see if you can massage that a little bit. But in general, I think the vibe of this is really, really cool, man. You've done a great job. You used one of the leads from one of the projects on Patreon. Great. I'm really happy for people to use that stuff for sure. There's been a couple of strange instances where people have tried to like release the projects as their own track. Please don't do that. Like, from a copyright perspective, it's my intellectual property. The composition is something I made, so you would need like permission to do that. The intention of putting those projects out there is so that you can look in and understand what's going on, how they're made, and then you can take elements from them and use them in your tracks. But there's also a whole raft of reasons why that is not a good idea. Like, let's say, just quickly, you take one of the projects from Patreon, you extend it out to be a full track, you send it to Jamie Jones, and he says, "You're a legend, I want to sign you to Hot Creations. Let's release this track on Hot Creations." I mean, I'm not saying my tracks, the projects I made are good enough to be released on Hot Creations, but let's just, for argument's sake, say that this scenario happens, okay? Jamie's like, bam, we're going to release this shit, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to be famous. So your track gets released. You think that's great, right? But then you've released something that you didn't make, you don't know how to recreate, and then what's to stop someone else just releasing the same thing the next week because they downloaded it from my Patreon as well? You know, it's just like, on so many different levels, it doesn't make sense. Then let's say that happens, and then Jamie's emailing you going like, dude, what the fuck? Someone else has released the same track. Where'd you get this from? And then you have to kind of come clean and say, oh, I didn't actually write it. I just downloaded it from someone's Patreon and then edited it. And then you're going to ruin that relationship with that label. So it's the same thing with sample packs and stuff. You know, if you're going to use something, they're there to use. I use samples from sample packs. I use loops. Everyone does pretty much. But just try to use it in a fresh, unique, interesting way, and try to have integrity in your music. So Joe, none of that was like focused at you. I'm totally fine with the way that you've used that. I didn't even recognize that there was anything that I've created in there, and you're more than welcome to do so. Natanel 71.1. Interesting name. Not overly memorable. Goes back to what I was saying at the start. Try giving your tracks a meaningful name. But I'm not sure if maybe that's what you intended to name it, or maybe it's yet untitled. So you've got this, like, I guess it's kind of like your bass line or something. It's in there from the start. I think everything else in the track is really cool. It's also playing super, super low. Like my headphones can barely represent that sound. Let me just see. I mean, it's almost as loud as your kick drum. It's taking up a lot of energy in the track, but it's not really adding much other than kind of like very low rumble. I'd ditch it and get something that's a bit groovier and happening a bit higher up, maybe like a full octave up. Or if you want to have sub like that, then by all means do it. Just kind of have it like happening in a more groovy kind of way, because if you think about it from the context of the physics of like sound reproduction, let's say you're playing that in a club, you've got subwoofers, right? If you've just got this constant 30 hertz subtone happening, then the way that the speakers produce that is with the subwoofer like expanding and contracting. And if you've just got this constant 30 hertz going, then that's constantly expanded. There's no dynamics in your sub. You really want to have, if you're going to use frequencies in that area, you want to have them kind of punchy and impactful. And that's where you really create that like impact and that feeling in the club. This is just going to kind of destroy the dynamics a bit of your track. I feel like that vocal came in a bit like harsh. It's got some harsh frequencies and it's a bit loud, but a cool vibe. I feel like the rest of the track so far has like a really cool vibe, and it's just that kind of like monotonous subtone that was kind of makes it feel a bit weird as well. The rhythm of it. So if that vocal was a little bit quieter and that subtone wasn't there, I feel like this would just be like a fucking groover. Because for me anyway, all of the rest of the elements work really nicely together. It's just that constant sub thing that's throwing me off. Yeah, really nice elements, and like, yeah, all the sounds work well together. It's just, for me, it's not quite working with that that bass. Anyway, let's move on. Who are we talking about here? Vanta, dance tonight. I want to dance tonight. Alright. Have I got a filter on here? Nope. Get something more interesting happening there. It's like a bit, I think you've maybe cut the low end of the kick a bit too high, and then you've got your percussion happening a bit too quiet. It's just sounds a bit weird in this boxy frequency. Yeah, I think this sounds really cool. That sounded very strange, so I would just like drop it in like this. Nice atmosphere in the background, really adds some depth. Put some delay and reverb on that little glitchy kind of Foley sound. I think it would be really cool, and it would put it in the background a bit more as well.
Crazy.
Yeah, definitely add some reverb and maybe try to add some like different velocity that's kind of changing to get those kind of Foley percussion sounds moving a bit. You can also add some like pan randomization to just get it kind of moving a little bit more, being a bit more dynamic in the mix.
Crazy.
So with stuff that's like quite minimalistic like this, I think it's really important to be working your elements and kind of making them move in the mix and kind of evolve and change. And that's how you can keep people's interest and keep it feeling fresh without just adding more and more elements.
I'm not gonna lie.
Nice stab that came in, but if I get the feeling that it's going to kind of stay like that for quite a while.
I'm not gonna lie.
So I'd bring that in with a bit of filter, add some delay and reverb, get it kind of changing and moving a bit.
Crazy things at night.
Nice vocal. Nice kind of atmospheric, subtle pad thing there. A good alternative for to a held string or pad.
I'm not gonna lie. I do crazy things at night.
I think you could have tried to create a bit more tension and build up the energy a bit there. And just have a bit more impact on this drop.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, all in all, really nice. But it's just very one-dimensional in terms of like the energy and like everything just kind of comes in and happens. And which is a shame because the elements sound really good. So I would just like really try to push yourself to not add things, but add movement. Doesn't have to be, the track itself is like subtle and delicate, so make the movement subtle and delicate as well. Yeah, but I think you're onto something really cool there. Now it's just about pushing yourself to take it to the next level. While maintaining the integrity of what you've got. Ian C. Ian is from Wellington in New Zealand, where I lived before I moved to Berlin. I think I lived in Wellington for 10 or 12 years or something. Cool little city. If you're in New Zealand, I definitely recommend visiting. Maybe best coffee in the world. That's probably up for debate, but better than any coffee I've had in Europe. Maybe I should have said trigger warning before that coffee comment, but it's the truth. I'd get a bit more groove going on with this little intro part. Really nice though, when it drops. That open hat is a bit intense. It's like just very robotic sounding. I like the other swingy percussion. It's also a bit like white noisy, a bit long. I would suggest, like in a lot of my videos, I talk about how to get some movement into your hats using like very subtle velocity automation, velocity modulation. So you're just kind of changing the velocity. So each time the hi-hat plays, it's like a slightly different volume. And then also using very, very subtle pan randomization so that it kind of moves a little bit in the panorama. And also I would make it a bit tighter. Feels like a little bit long and extended. I think the kick sounds a bit boxy as well. So you've got also a lot of sub, which is not needed sub. So when I do that, it really tightens it up a bit. Yeah, if you duck out a bit around kind of 200 hertz on the kick, it just tightens it up as well. Bass is a bit loud, I think, but nice elements that you've dropped in here. It's got a nice call and response between the two different bass elements. Yeah, I think if you can get a hi-hat in there that sounds a bit more like in the track, this feels like it's sitting on top of the track, I think it'll really bring things together. I like this kind of glitchy rhythmic melodic thing that you've brought in here. It's cool. It would be nice to have some movement and some automation on it though, so it kind of evolves throughout the track. Also maybe have sections where you bring it in and out. Introducing some kind of more engaging melodic or vocal theme here would really help to make the track a bit more engaging. Yeah, but really nice, good stuff. Keep it going, keep it going. Interested to see what you've got going on next time. But yeah, try just thinking of ways to create some movement and some kind of change over time in the track. And also really, I think something that I've started doing in the last few years is really focusing on, before I start arranging or anything like that, before I even make drums, basically, I'm thinking about what's the hook of the track, and really like working that, getting that to be really solid before I move on and focus on anything else. the way to think about like hooks and stuff, for me, the way that I think about it anyway, is try to kind of conceptualize what is someone, if they hear that record in a club or something, what is it that they're gonna remember the next day, you know? And that should be the focus of your record, and everything should be judged against whether it adds value to that, whether it enhances that, or does it detract from that? And if so, let it go. Yeah, rhyming is cool. This is cool. It's got a really cool groove, but I think you've kind of like what it feels like to me, and I used to do this a lot myself, is that you started arranging here, worked forward, you had all your elements and you kind of like started bringing things in and going, okay, and by the time you got to here, you'd already used like your bass line, your melodic stuff was in, so it was time to drop the vocal in. Whereas if you start focusing on the arrangement from here and you kind of build out your break and stuff, and then go back and work forward to the outro, then you end up kind of not, you having like a more clean, less busy intro and outro. Now this groove that you've got here with the toms and stuff is cool. I don't think you need to drop in your bass line even until here.
That's not.
Let's try to, I mean, it's music that's intended for DJs, right? So try to think about how people are going to interact with it as a DJ.
That's not water.
Cool vocal though, by the way.
You're already.
I think you could make a bit more of a make a bit more of an impact with the vocal if you waited and brought it in and more of a introduced it and more of a break like here. Oops.
You're already.
You could maybe find some way to tease it in or something, or maybe have an alternate, because it's got this spoken word vocal, you could maybe have some kind of just ethereal kind of atmospheric kind of vocal that happens earlier, or use something from the spoken word vocal to kind of introduce it.
There's no way life could develop unless Titan warms up. The sun is supposed to get hotter. When it does, maybe life will spring up here, just like it did on Earth. And as the Earth gets too hot for us, maybe we'll move to Titan.
I would like tone down the bass line a bit to give a bit more space for this new these new kind of chord stabs that are coming in, and that will create a lot more tension. I guess it looks like you do that here.
Maybe we'll move to Titan.
keep that rhythm going with that pattern going with the chord stabs. It's going to create like tension for this part here, because it feels like it changes and loses energy in a part where you're kind of wanting to build the energy up.
Call this distant land home.
Really nice drop there, and nice when you bring in this pad on the drop. Some really cool stuff happening in there, but I just think it's not quite working to transfer the energy correctly through the track. Really nice pluck sound coming in there.
We're at least 700 million miles away now. After this.
This part sounds really nice, where you've brought a few things out and then you've got the vocal kind of playing on top. That sounds really good. If you can kind of keep that idea of like making space for different things as they come in, yeah, really good.
Do we have the courage to jump?
Really nice.
One day we might call this distant land.
Really nice deep vibes on here. Yeah, I think you could like just go through a little bit, maybe give it some space, work on something else, and then come back to it, and just kind of try to get it flowing a bit more coherently. And I think you're onto a winner here. You could try, once you've got it working, I think you could try sending it to Cyclic, Mihai Popovicio's label. I think it might fit quite nicely on there. Under Shade, sound check 2. Really nice punchy kick. I really like that. Oh yeah, like really great atmosphere. Yeah, really good, really good. Maybe there's these kind of like vocal kind of sounds are a little bit too loud, but yeah, I think if you kind of subdue these pads a little bit, and then you can kind of use them to help bring in energy here. So I really want those pads to kind of pull away there, and that this is something I was saying earlier about creating dynamics between the different sections of your track, and it just makes them feel like more alive. I mean, it's much more engaging for the listener, and I think there you bring in this new element. So if you pull the pads away, it makes space for that new element, but it also kind of keeps the balance of the energy in the track. melody sound that you've got. I think it sounds cool, but it sounds like it's got a bit too much low mids, and it's not really kind of punching through the mix a bit. It's just making it sound a bit more muddy. So don't know if it's quite working. It's cool, excuse me, but I don't think it's quite working in the track. Maybe a different sound, or playing like a higher octave or something like that. Makes more sense now when it's opened up a bit. Just checked. I thought I recognized the production on here. It's my mate Dickie Clare. Name your files, dude. Yeah, really cool. And I mean, nice that I kind of felt like I could recognize the production. I think that's it's really good when someone can listen to a track and go like, this sounds like that person's track. And like it was named differently, but it still sounded like your track. So I went and checked, and it is. Yeah, I think everything in the track is really good, but this kind of main chord thing's not working. I think it maybe needs to be in a different. Oh, excuse me, Jesus Christ! I didn't get much sleep. I was busy drinking beer. It maybe needs to be a bit brighter, or just in a different space in the frequency spectrum. And maybe have some layers or something to it. But it's cool, and I think it's just a matter of like making it work somehow. But everything else in the track's really sick. Will McQueen likes the bass line. All right, Jasper. Hey, drink was 12.2. Interesting name. Jasper, I owe you an apology. I missed your email, but I've got back to you now. So look forward to chatting to you. It's going to be called Nectar, the Ableton file. Okay, cool. All right, let's have a listen, Jasper. think here you could use a bit of automation to kind of bring in this pad and atmosphere stuff, create a bit of movement with it. The kick sounds, be interested, I assume it's going to be like techno, but I think you could also have something in the low end to create a bit of groove with the kick here. This feels a bit like intense and robotic. Nice melody though. That kind of like vocal paddy, I assume it's a vocal with the high pass on it, a high cut on it. It's quite loud. It's kind of making the whole mix feel quite muddy, and you can see that represented in the metering here. Like there's quite a lot of energy going on in this kind of 2 to 600 hertz. Nice rides, good lift and energy, but I feel like, yeah, that kind of, that sound is just dominating the track a bit much, sorry.
Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in.
I think maybe the vocal's just a bit too loud as well.
Wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig, wenn dies. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig. Sie fanden Nektar in dem, ist wirklich wichtig.
I think the bass line's maybe a bit too loud as well. It's just really kind of overpowering everything. Nice dramatic change there. So for the length of the break and the kind of the dynamics of it, the way that it drops away to just these high pads, I think you kind of want to keep some stuff happening to really lift the energy up. Yeah, like, so here it sounds like there's a bit more space for everything. And in a lot of the parts of the track, it feels like a bit kind of cluttered, a bit clouded, and there's not really a lot of space in the low end, especially for between the kick and the bass. It's the style is not something that I'm super familiar with, so I can't really give feedback on that too much. But I think, yeah, in terms of like the mix, like the elements, well, a way to think about selecting which elements to put in your track is like having them occupy a certain area in the frequency spectrum, and try to have different elements happening in different sections of the sections of the frequency spectrum. Sorry. Oyala, is it possible to submit some downtempo stuff? Maybe joining in the future? Yeah, I mean, submit whatever you want. I'll do my best to give feedback on it the best as I can. Like if I'm not really familiar with the style, you know, I guess I listen to things through the lens of someone who produces electronic music for clubs. But I can always tell you if there's something going on with your mix and it's not. You know, I'll do my best to give feedback in whichever way I can. So yeah, go ahead, submit whatever you like. Quite a lot going on for this early stage of the arrangement. And kind of odd for the arrangement, right? Like it, you know, you kind of have the kick out here, then you bring the kick in for a very short space of time, then go into a breakdown all before 1 minute. And this is a 30-second breakdown, so half of your intro, or sorry, sorry, my maths is shit today. 3/4 of your intro is kind of breakdown, you know, here and here. Very cool vibe. I think those pads are a bit much. Maybe try to like pull them back with the volume and with the filter, and then they've got space to kind of move and evolve. So they're quite, there's quite a few quite resonant sounds in here, which can be quite dominating in terms of like fighting for attention in the mix. So if you're like having resonance on a filter, or having resonant sounds is really cool, but if you have a lot, then they can really kind of conflict with each other. I'd put a bit more delay and reverb on those piano sounds, but really good, really nice sound. Got a nice like nostalgia on that melody. Yeah, that piano or that melody sounds just a bit dry, like it's just. Cool use of the vocal there to create some tension before the drop. I think the vocals may be a bit loud in the mix. Gets a bit piercing, and so you could use some compression to control the dynamics of the vocal, but also if you look at the vocal stem and use the clip gain to just kind of even them out. And you can do that quite visually, really. Like, let's say that this is two different parts of a vocal. So you would just kind of do it like this and just try to get them to be a more similar volume. And then add some compression to control the dynamics even further. You've done some pitching with this vocal, I think, and it's kind of like if you use Little Altar Boy from Sound Toys, sometimes it can just sound a bit weird in some places, and this sounds a bit weird right here.
If you're gonna give it all, I feel it, baby, I already know.
Yeah, that like robotic kind of part.
Baby, I already know. I know. Never let me go. Yeah, if you love me, then you'll never let me go.
Yeah, some cool vibes there, man. Good stuff, Donnie. Will McQueen, regular submission here. Ride. I feel like this chord thing could have maybe a bit more bottom end and a bit less top end, at least for a start, just to kind of make it feel a bit more, yeah, it feels a bit like, oh god, excuse me, it feels a bit unbalanced. Extremely loud hats, man. Really, really loud. They're quite, I mean, they don't sound harsh, but they're very, very loud. Cool bass, really nice. I like that you've got this kind of subby groove, and then you introduce the midline. Oh god, excuse me, the mid-range bass. What happened there that I just missed out on? I feel like there's quite a lot of energy in the hats. I think trying to figure out how to balance them a bit more against the rest of the track. It could be also that the mastering is pushing them up quite a bit. Yeah, really cool vibe, man. I think, yeah, just trying to sort out a bit with the hats could really help. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but good vibe, and yeah, standard. You've really got your kind of signature sound going on, so I like it. Downpour City. Nice. Really nice vibe on this, man. Nice subtle percussion, good atmosphere. I really like it. This, like, all the sounds you've got here are really cool. I kind of want something to call in response with this stab that you've got going on. Should have just waited for 10 seconds. Wow, very cool sound design on that lead. I would take that lead out there just to kind of shift back gears to the other previous section. I know you've like filtered it down quite a lot. It is very toned down, but I would just take it out there, completely make a shift with it. I don't think you need to have it in playing with the other lead sound. I would have it, yeah, that lead, it's really cool, but I would have it just do its thing in the break, and then have this section after where it's kind of, it's time to shine, and then you go back to the other melodic section here, and then outro. But really cool track, man, really love it, well done. Okay, lateral shift, find the piece. Okay, this is the track that I was thinking of. This kick is super, super, super low. And when I played it on my studio monitors, which I've got pretty good studio monitors, they were kind of struggling to represent the kick properly. Yeah, I mean, 30 hertz is pretty low for a kick. I would just say that that's probably too low. But let's listen to the track. One benefit of having the kick so low is that it does leave a lot of space for the bass. So while I don't think technically the low end is working, because not a lot of systems can actually represent that sound, that kick sound authentically, or they can't, yeah, you know, a lot of club systems aren't going to even play that low, but it does leave good separation for the bass to happen. Quickly, I would try to put a bit of automation and movement on these stab melody thing that's happening. It just feels like a bit stagnant, like it's just happening there. Nice that there's the call and response with the next element that you brought in. Cool, like bubbly, interesting sound design there. It sounds like it's almost like the Yazoo Don't Go lead, the dun 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 coming in. A bit of a confusing drop, like you kind of bringing in a bunch of stuff, creating a lot of tension, and then it can be like a really strong move to go to like a kick and bass without the drums on top at the drop, and it can really work, especially in the club. But here it just kind of falls into it. I don't think it's got enough intensity. Probably because it's got all the pads and stuff happening as well. So if you were going to do that, I would make it a bit more dry and a bit more aggressive. You've got some really nice elements in the track, but I feel like it's kind of lacking a hook as well. It's like there's kind of a lot of the melodic elements feel like they're kind of just existing there, but they're not necessarily what I would call memorable. But yeah, cool vibe. That yeah, I don't know. If you pitch the kick up to so it's playing a G or something instead of C, I don't know what's going to happen to your bass if they're gonna. Oh man, excuse me. If the bass and the kick are going to start clashing, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. Mr. Ego, we finally got the track, mate. Right, let me just check the loudness on here. Probably add a bit of limiting. Bit less. Okay. So for this kind of intro, I would try to get some more movement, some more stuff happening. It doesn't have to be like, I don't mean like adding crazy effects and stuff like that, just more like the elements are kind of shifting and moving and morphing, and it's a bit, just subtly, but it just makes it a bit more interesting. This pattern with these hi-hats is cool, but I would try to have like 2 alternating patterns, or maybe 3 or 4. It's just ever so slightly different, so it just kind of feels a bit more organic. I think the bass line could be turned up a bit, or the sub could be turned up a bit. The kick is very dominant. Nice stab, I like that. Yeah, the balance of the mix is very bass heavy. I would like try to bring your hats and stuff up, and it kind of feels like you're missing something in this frequency range between like 800 hertz to 4K, which is a problem because that's kind of where the things that are memorable about your track normally live, like vocals or melodies. This kind of like laughing atmospheric vocal thing that you've got, it's cool, but maybe use it less frequently. It's a taste thing, but I feel like as there's no kick playing here, maybe it's worth automating the sidechain off so that it just feels a bit more natural. Everything will feel, it'll kind of, yeah, give it space to breathe. Very intense drop. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could kind of release something there, like remove something to kind of give the listener a bit of a release. I guess like what this does, but maybe have it halfway through this section. Definitely some peak time vibes on this, brother. Glad that we got it sorted and got to listen to the track. So good stuff. Yeah, there's a few issues going on there with the mix and with kind of yeah, but it's definitely like got a cool vibe and some good energy. All right, so that's about all we're going to have time for today, guys. Thank you very much to everyone who sent in their tracks. It's awesome. And damn, there was like the level today, I think that's as high as it's been. Really, really good. And a couple of, like, for me anyway, really amazing tracks in there as well. So really great. Thanks everyone for sending those in, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm going home to have tacos with my wife and son, and it's going to be awesome. All right, well, I hope you got something from that, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Oh, if you're going to be in ADE, I will be in Amsterdam from Thursday night through to Sunday. I'm playing on Saturday night at a Mother Recordings and Prima party with Nan Solo, Super Lover. I'm playing back to back with Super Lover actually. Matt Joe, Gaz, whole bunch. There's info on my Instagram and everything, so come along if you're in town. Drop me a DM if you're in town and you want to meet up for coffee. You can buy me a coffee if you want. Anyway, yeah, if you're going to be in ADE, we'll see you there.